Hey guys, welcome back to franchise tagged mock draft season. We're going into our third official mock, second of the full first round, and we've got trades in this one as well. And just one thing, real quick, to keep in mind before we get into this, we are doing many of these. We are doing one every 2 weeks, and we might be doing some funky ones in between there. Maybe yes, maybe no. Not 100% decided on that yet, but we're doing something different in every single mock draft. So if you disagree with something we're doing here, instead of ripping into us, check out the other mocks and hold your horses
Hey
on
now,
the hate
let
comments a little bit.
let
But
them know they can still rip into us. All right,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If
go
you
ahead.
if you think that the pick is a bad fit, for sure. But if
Yes,
you think that somebody trading down isn't realistic, or if you think that
if you're a fan of your team, you know more of what's going on for your team than we do. So rip us accordingly, and we will alter the draft board accordingly. But
yep.
yeah, another preface is that as of recording right now, it is February 20th. So we we're pre-recording this one. One of us had to go on vacation. So we have no idea who's getting franchise tagged, any of that, who's actually going to be hitting the free agency window. But we do have some picks that are contingent on just our thoughts about who might be. So it's going to be a bit of a little maybe outdated, but we're doing the best with what we got. And then another preface: I broke my glasses. Don't make fun of me.
There we go. All right, you're kicking us off on this one with pick one from the Bears.
Yep. The Bears were. This is kind of one of the least contentious ones. Everyone is kind of coming around to the fact that Justin Fields probably maybe won't be there. So we're going Caleb Williams again at quarterback. And I mean, with free agents opening up, there's really no argument, I think, to be like, oh, we'll trade back and get a wide receiver and stick with, like, I think they're going to be taking the cheaper route with the quarterback on a rookie deal.
Moving on to pick two, we've got the Commanders skipping out on Drake May and taking Jaden Daniels instead. And this is kind of just this could happen. Uh, May is kind of the consensus QB2, but Daniels won the Heisman for a reason. I'm pretty high on him. I haven't watched a ton of tape, but what I have seen, I do like. I don't like how comically he takes hits, if that's
Mm,
if
okay.
that's a way to put it.
Yeah.
He's a little bit reckless out there, but
It looks like a Looney
I
Tunes
think
slapstick episode anytime he's on the
yeah,
field sprinting with it.
yeah. So that's a little bit jarring, but I do think he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL, and so I think the Commanders will take him there if they decide that May isn't for them. Um, and then just they've got other issues. This is not old news,
Yeah.
but stay like within the top three picks. I feel like if you're there and you have a need at quarterback, you should probably take the quarterback if the right name is there. And in a draft like this, where not only there are a lot of top talent quarterback guys, but next year there's really not,
Yeah.
it feels like you should probably take quarterback now. That's the longest I'm going to talk on any pick, just because there were some comments about it last mock. But
Mm-hmm.
anywho, Jaden Daniels at two to the Commanders. And then moving on to pick three, we decided to make Drake May slip a little bit, and so we have the Patriots taking Marvin Harrison Jr. I love Marvin Harrison. He's a generational talent if ever there was one, and the
Yeah.
Patriots wide receiver core is very weak. And while I understand that I just said you should take a QB if you're in the top three, we're doing some fun stuff with this mock, so just bear with me.
Yeah.
He's gonna be a great receiver in the league, and I really do hope that he goes to the Patriots and that we try something special there.
In a mini tangent, to we'll make this quick, but how would you feel about Marvin Harrison at three after Kirk Cousins is the newest quarterback of the Patriots?
Feel better if we traded for Fields or signed Baker or did any
Literally
other
anything
number of
else.
things. I don't hate Kirk, but he's just kind of like he's the worst of the options in my opinion. I mean, okay, he's
He's
the
hitting
worst of
FA. That
the
was
legitimate
my thought.
options.
Yeah.
Uh, like I'm not saying that Jacoby Brissett or Gardner Minshew would be worse than or would be better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
They I think are on a tier below him. But
He's the
anywho,
worst of like an actual maybe solution in your eyes.
hmm
Okay. And so at number 4, the Cardinals, we have taking Malik Neighbors. Um, After seeing a number 1 wide receiver go off the board, a lot of people might be saying go a line here, uh, address a different need, trade back even. But we have them still targeting the wide receiver here because Neighbors versus maybe if they were to trade back and get a later round wide receiver, there's still a gap there. It's not as big as the gap from Marvin Harrison and everybody else, but there's a gap, so they're going to still adjust that position of need there. And then that allows us to do our favorite thing at number 5, which is take Brock Bowers for the Chargers. And I mean, okay, when you check out the next mock draft, hopefully we're not still taking Brock Bowers at 5 here for them. But right now, we are big fans of this. And I did make a mistake the last time we recorded, and I spoke on the wrong Ravens coordinator. So Greg Roman is now an offensive coordinator there. So he likes his tight ends, as you could tell with Mark Andrews and his usage. So there's some extra firewood to that flame.
Yep. At 6, we are ending the Drake May slide with the Giants. They are in a perfect spot to get any of the top 3 quarterbacks if they slip that far.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can either plug him in immediately and have him starting and getting experience, or if you feel like Daniel Jones can still, start for a few games and give Drake May a couple, weeks on the bench learning the system a little bit better, you can do that. I still think that they need to get receivers somewhere, but free agency is a great place to do that.
Yeah.
And why rookie quarterbacks are a lot cheaper than free agent quarterbacks, as we know from, or cheaper than extended quarterbacks, as we know from Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And then moving on to pick 7, we've still got the Titans going with Joe Alt, O-tackle out of Notre Dame. He's generational by all measures, as far as anybody can tell. I haven't seen anybody really say that Joe Alt will be a bust. Of course, I'm not super invested in offensive line draft scouting, but I don't think that anybody's really calling out Joe as a huge bust or as has bust potential. So
Yeah.
protecting Will Levis, who showed some flashes, and giving him some time to throw to any weapons they can muster is always a good thing.
Yeah, and I think there's extra credence to this pick because Neighbors is off the board as well. If Neighbors maybe got fell to here, I could see them targeting a wide receiver, but I think with options on the board right now, they're going to go with the protection over the weapon. So getting into the next pick, the Falcons sitting at 8, they could draft any number of defensive picks here in our opinion, and so instead of them being the team to take the first defensive player off the board, we're going to have a team be aggressive and move up for the offensive tackle, who wasn't just the first one taken off the board. And that team is actually going to be the Saints. So it's an in-division trade for the Saints to move up with the Falcons pick to get Olu Fashanu, O-tackle, out of Penn State. I think that they really need that cornerstone, and they're going to be aggressive once they see okay, this guy slipped and he's our tackle 1 and we are in position to make a move up. Let's do that now.
Moving on to 9, we've got the Bears not taking Jer'Zhan Newton. We've got them taking Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington. Other positions, they can be addressed in free agency, and D-line is definitely one of them. But I think that even if they add a wide receiver, a third wide receiver option is not a bad thing. And it would kind of, if they do draft Odunze, or if they do plan on drafting a wide receiver at 9, it would kind of free up their free agent money to be signing other holes. Because it's not like they're a complete roster that's a wide receiver and a quarterback away.
Yeah.
They're a little bit further off than that. They could prioritize signing somebody like Brian Burns or somebody else on the D-line, and do any number of things there to get some team success.
Yeah. At 10, we have another familiar pick happening. We have Talise Fuaga going to the Jets. We kind of stated last episode that this is kind of a vibe pick. They just feel like a good match, a good like in an interview on draft or at the combine. I think that the Jets are going to be really enamored with Talise Fuaga, so that's another credence to this pick.
And then at 11, we've got the Vikings sticking around this time at 11 and taking Terrion Arnold, the first DB off the board, the first defensive player off the board.
Yep.
Uh, there's a little bit of, or there are a lot of solid DB talents, and I don't think there's any one that's standing out as like the DB1.
Yeah.
I've seen some hype for Dejon Cooper. I've seen some hype for
Dejon
Nate
Cooper.
Wiggins.
Cooper Dejon.
Madden franchise is crushing me right now. Deshaun Cooper is the Colts quarterback, the rookie.
Oh.
There are a lot of really good DBs in this draft. Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins, and then Kool-Aid McKinstry is slipping down the board a little bit, but or down a lot of people's boards a little bit. But I think he's still a pretty solid talent. But I just think Terrion Arnold fits the vibe. And like we said last time, they're going DB to kind of make up for the Brian Flores crazy blitz packages that he calls and has nobody to cover on the back end.
Yeah.
And you could say any of the other DBs are DB1 and the Vikings would go with them. But for now, we're keeping it with Terrion Arnold.
Yeah, I think another detractor that you could make on this pick is like they're losing Danielle Hunter. Why aren't we having them take Dallas Turner or Jared like a top edge? But it's the blitz packages that, like, I think that the defensive system Brian Flores had was the success, and it wasn't like, okay, I know Danielle Hunter had 16 sacks. I think he was more of a factor of the success of the blitz defense, less so he was why the blitz defense was a success. So that's my, like, another kind of facet, another factor we had thinking about this selection.
Bold claim there.
At 12, the Broncos, we have them being the team to take J.J. McCarthy, quarterback out of Michigan. He's kind of gotten a lot of buzz as a first rounder, despite the few amount of passing attempts he has. The Broncos definitely will need help elsewhere. This isn't like we're putting him in and they're going to be a competitor. But I think that with Russ's contract and their situation right now, they should just probably take a rookie quarterback, tank the cap hit from Russ, and then build in later years and just kind of reset. Because even with the argument of like, well, Russ did really good last year, JJ McCarthy moves as good as an old Russ. Like the comparison there in terms of like the skill set Russ has versus the skill set JJ has, I don't think there's much of a drop off, especially given the like very safe feeling offensive structure Sean Payton had them in. So I think that if they're gonna blow it up, tank some cap hit, now's a good time, and taking JJ is a good player to have there.
At 13, we've got the Raiders taking Jer'Zhan Newton out of the D lineman out of Illinois. They spent a highish draft pick on Tyree Wilson last season, and he was more of an edge rusher in college, and they had him playing D tackle for part of the season. So I think taking a bona fide interior D lineman is going to be beneficial for them in the long run. Not only will he be a productive force on the interior, it'll free up Tyree Wilson to move back to the outside and be a little bit more comfortable and produce from that spot as well.
Yeah, for sure. At 14, the Falcons, after trading back with the Saints, we have taking Dallas Turner, edge out of Alabama. I think that after their trade back, they're very happy to see just two defensive players go. And after not seeing Dallas Turner go to the Vikings, they are happy to nab him up now and add some pass rush help.
At 15, we've got yet another familiar pick. We've got Cooper DeJean going to the Colts. He's once again available here at 15. The Colts have a need at DB, and he can play any of the DB spots on the field. So taking the versatile weapon is going to be beneficial for the Colts in the long run.
Yep.
Then at 16, the Seahawks sitting here really wanting that interior offensive lineman that they so desperately need. They feel like they're sitting a little bit early, and we once again have them trading back. This time not so far, just a couple picks back with the Bengals. So the Bengals can jump the Jaguars here, and they are going to be landing on J.C. Latham, the tackle out of Alabama. They get to guarantee that they get this tackle by jumping the Jaguars, who are also a team that could take tackle if they felt like Latham was that good and he was still there when they got there. So just making that slight jump up guarantees them a tackle to protect Burrow on the other side from Orlando Brown.
And at 17, the Jaguars, after seeing that jump happen and kind of knowing, okay, the best tackle that we might have considered here is gone, they're going to actually add a weapon. This, again, is after, it's coming out after, anyone that might re sign with their teams could. And so we don't know if they're keeping Calvin Ridley, but we're assuming that they might move off of him. And so with that, preface, we have them taking Brian Thomas. I think they could still take Brian Thomas and add him as a weapon next to Calvin and Christian Kirk. So just I think an overall good pick to be made is adding a weapon for Trevor Lawrence to use.
Definitely. Then at 18, where the Seahawks are sitting after their trade back with the Bengals, we've got them taking Jackson Powers Johnson, the center out of Oregon. I still feel like taking a center at 18 is early, but I've also seen some, mid to late first round hype for Powers Johnson, and the Seahawks desperately need some interior O line help. So they would definitely jump at the opportunity to take what many consider to be the best one available in the draft.
Definitely. And then coming up at pick 19 is the Rams. We have them selecting Nate Wiggins, DB out of Clemson. The Rams are definitely going to be corner needy. Akello Witherspoon is a pending FA. Again, it's already happened. We don't know. But he was like the only name of their DB room. So they have a lot of young guys, yeah, but they have a lot of young guys who still need to develop. And they're not first rounders. They need a bona fide guy to just kind of plug into one of the starting spots at DB and let play.
At 20, the Steelers watch Nate Wiggins go off the board and know that they got to jump at the opportunity to take the last DB on a lot of people's boards, which would be Kool-Aid McKinstry, the DB out of Bama, as well as Terrion Arnold, both of those Bama boys. And the Steelers could have tried to trade up and get either Nate Wiggins or, if they traded up further, a different DB. But I think sitting at 20 just feels like a Steelers move, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think they'd land a pretty, like I said, a pretty solid DB in Kool-Aid McKinstry, who
Yep.
I have been pretty high on with limited film watching.
Yeah, and they get to pair him next to Joey Porter. So I think that they'll have a good young DB duo if they manage to get this pick here. At pick 21, the Dolphins, we have selecting Jared Verse, edge out of FSU. I think that, this was a kind of unexpected slip for Jared Verse for us. But I think that the Dolphins add upon that strength that they have. They ranked top 10 on pass rush win rate last season, but Emmanuel Ogbah is an edge that's likely going to be a cap casualty for them. So they'll be able to have a starting spot to kind of slip Jared Verse into, or give him some time and just kind of relegate him to a third down kind of play style. So they are going to ensure that they don't have a drop off in that pass rush with this selection.
Yeah, I also think injury insurance is pretty good with a lot of their defensive guys kind of being more injury prone. Jalen Phillips specifically with his Achilles. I don't know if he's going to recover from it super fast. So if they get one, they could let his rehab take a little bit longer and still be fine. But at 22, the Eagles sitting here still need DB help really bad. And I said that Kool-Aid was kind of the last DB on a lot of people's boards, but Quinyon Mitchell also has a first round grade from a lot of people just kind of further down, closer to the end of the first round. And that's who we've got the Eagles taking here, the DB out of Toledo. They, again, need DB help bad, and best DB available is Quinyon Mitchell. So that's who they're going to go ahead and take.
Yeah, I mean, the only knock is, he played for Toledo. But when you watch, like, his movement and the base skills, he's still a good corner. It doesn't matter that he was able to lock up like nobody's. It's just you need to watch how he plays, and I think a lot of teams are kind of coming around on that. A lot of people as well seeing him move into having some first round grades. Next up, the Texans at pick 23. We have them taking a nice little story. Byron Murphy II, interior D line out of Texas. He's gonna have a very short U-Haul drive, making his move, but we had them go Latu last round or last mock draft. So there's, that argument could be made that they would go on the outside here. But we have an understanding right now that we think Jonathan Grenard should be re-signed. We don't know again. Sorry if he's not, but we're making this pick on the basis that he is. So we kind of want them to strengthen the interior and not so much the edge. So that's the reasoning for Latu not being taken here, despite being on the board. And then, lo and behold, at number 24, the Cowboys are needing a linebacker. I've been seeing a lot of that kind of argument that they need someone to replace Van Der Esch because he's getting older and he's getting injury prone. And linebacker at 24, especially given this linebacker class, isn't something I think they're going to necessarily reach on. So we have the Cardinals getting aggressive and moving up to select Liatu Latu after the Texans, who could be argued as a team to target him, pass on him. So Liatu Latu to the Cardinals at pick 24.
Then one pick later at 25, we've got the Packers taking Troy Fautanu, offensive lineman out of Washington. He is an offensive tackle by pure definition because of where he lined up in college. However, a lot of people are projecting his move to the interior. We talked about that last time when we had the Seahawks picking him at wherever we had him. I think 22 after I traded with the Eagles. Anywho, yada yada yada. The Packers do need a lot of do need interior O line help, and so Fautanu being here at 25 is probably going to be their target. Packers fans, though, give us some other things they could target, because I don't feel like just taking interior O line for them for the rest of our mocks for the rest of the season. So
yeah, I mean, I know that they could.
Insight.
The only thing in my mind that they could target is interior O line and tackle, and that's only because Bakhtiari seems to just stay perpetually hurt most of the time. So yeah, give us some other ideas there, guys.
And then at 26, we've got the Buccaneers not trading out of the first round this time. We've got them going with Braylon Trice, the D end out of Washington. They have, I feel like they have a team that's not needy anywhere, but you could improve at a lot of positions. Like, they've got serviceable starters at basically every position. They don't feel super weak anywhere.
Yeah.
But I feel like Braylon Trice could kind of replace Joe Tryon-Shoyinka at that edge rusher position, and maybe be a little bit better than the more versatile Tryon, who kind of can drop back and can edge rush, but doesn't do either at a premium rate.
Yeah.
So they could definitely opt for a more pure edge rusher here.
Yeah, and a thing I kind of want to note is I've been seeing Trice kind of falling down the boards as well. But as we get later into this first round, obviously the lines get blurred a bit. So we have a couple of guys, I think, that people are having more second round grades on, sneaking into the first. And at this next selection, the Cowboys are sitting here after trading back with the Cardinals. And, they would likely pick a, linebacker here and make that reach now. But they hear the phone start ringing, and the Chiefs are on the other line. So the Chiefs are making this trade up to select Troy Franklin. They're addressing a wide receiver need. We don't know if they might be able to get, Mike Evans if he hits the actual market, but I presume a lot of wide receivers won't actually hit market. So the Chiefs making this trade up to make sure that they have a wide receiver in Troy Franklin, I think, is a good move to shore up some weapons for Patrick Mahomes.
And at 28, the Bills, we had them taking Byron Murphy here last draft. He is no longer available, but they still have a glaring need at interior D-line, and they need it to be cheap. And so we've got them taking T'Vondre Sweat, the other interior defensive lineman out of Texas. They, like I said last mock, they are losing all of their depth. The only interior D lineman still on their roster that, barring any re-signings, is going to be Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
And so putting another guy right next to Ed Oliver is probably going to be a good move for them instead of just having nobody there.
Yep. And I think that they could also target edge, but with Von Miller still there, it's less of a need than interior D-line. And at pick 29, the Lions are going to be selecting Darius Robinson, edge rusher out of Missouri. I think that while James Houston is still on the roster, and he went through all of last season not playing, either being a healthy scratch or an injured scratch for most of the season. They're not so much faith in him after his 8 games, so they might take Darius to add just some extra pass rush juice to the team because they need it. Like they need DB bad, but I mean we had Quinyon Mitchell go at 22. DBs flew off the board in this one. They're gonna just have to take their lumps and take the edge rusher here to boost that unit. And at pick 30, we have the Ravens selecting Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. I think that this is definitely just a gimme. Like the Ravens had Adonai Mitchell fall to them. He's very, very good. I'll have a video coming out on that soon, but he's a good weapon to pair alongside Zay Flowers and ensure that there's always an open target for Lamar Jackson to hit between the two of them.
At 31, we've got the 49ers taking Chop Robinson, defensive end at a Penn State. Uh, I do not, I mean, we don't know what they're going to do with Chase Young, if they're going to extend him, if they're going to let him hit free agency. I know throughout most of the season when he was there, he was not showing a lot of effort, and
Yeah.
that was kind of a telltale sign of him just hitting free agency. But in that Super Bowl, from the plays that I saw of him, he was trying his damn
Yeah.
hardest. He was
He
like,
started
oh,
trying
shoot,
in the
I need to work
playoffs.
for a contract, right? So I think that if they do end up re signing him, I wouldn't be super shocked. But also, if they don't, which I also wouldn't be super shocked, I think they could definitely opt for Chop Robinson here, who has some potential, and being paired up like across the field from Nick Bosa,
Is going to
would kind
bring
of
opportunities
take
for
the
anybody.
focus off
Yeah.
of him and make him a little bit more efficient.
Yep, for sure. And then at pick 32, the Cowboys, after trading back with the Cardinals and then trading back with the Chiefs, have gotten all the way down to 32. Uh, so rejoice, we're not having you trade out of the first round. We're going to actually have you sit and select that linebacker we were talking about. This linebacker is going to be Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker out of Texas A&M. Another short drive for Texas player, but I think that they made this trade back. They still have the linebacker that they need to fill. They're gonna fill it easy peasy, no brain. Shut it off and just send in that card.
That will do it for mock draft V3 from Franchise Tagged. Leave us your thoughts in the comments. Definitely, if you have some insight into what your team needs a little bit more than we do, let us know.
Yep. Packers
And then
fans, Cowboys fans, Niners
really
fans.
anybody,
Yeah.
honestly. Uh, Let us know what you would like to see your team do, whether it's this, whether it's something else, and yeah, we're gonna keep these coming. We're gonna be doing every 2 weeks. We'll have a mock draft, and I think you know what I'm gonna announce this a little early. We are going to be doing a really fun mock draft in the semi near future, probably
Oh,
within the
geez.
next month and a half ish, where we're just going to be going back and forth, and we're not going to have like it's not going to be planned out or scripted or anything like that.
Yep.
It's just going to be he picks first, I pick second, or I pick first, he picks second, and then we just alternate. So that'll be a really fun one to do. And keep an eye out for all our future mocks. Again, let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Deuces.
Take it easy.